All right, guys. As you know, the new footage is out there, and I'm so excited. You know how big a fan I am, and it's out there right now, and I just want to get into it. You all know, I know you've been waiting too, so here we go. I haven't seen it yet, so this is my reaction. Okay, you excited?
Don't fight in the north or the south.
I'm so excited.
Fight every battle, everywhere. Always. In your mind.
Oh, shit. No way. No way. Hold up. You guys didn't think this was Game of Thrones, did you? Hey, welcome to American Bravado. I am your host, JT, and today we are talking about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So, I do realize if you did click on the link, you're probably far more interested in the new Game of Thrones trailer than, let's say, Saudi Arabian politics. But, if you are interested in the things in Game of Thrones, like the intrigue, the assassinations, state-sanctioned beheadings, well, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has all that and more for you. So I made a short list of things that Game of Thrones fans might find interesting in Saudi Arabia. Just for example, do you remember season 5? There was that religious cult that hated women and gays, and then it just kind of fizzled out. I thought watching it that it would be interesting if they kind of actually took over and gained power and really changed how the kingdom worked. Well, in Saudi Arabia, that actually happened. In the 1970s, a cult called Wahhabism took over and infiltrated every level of government. That's why Saudi Arabia today has strict religious police. They enforce morality laws like public beatings in the street and women can't drive. It's why Saudi Arabia consistently makes my list of 10 places I never want to visit. And Game of Thrones fans will tell you that Game of Thrones has the best bad guys. Please. Saudi Arabia has the best bad guys. Do you remember him? And I think it's fair to say that one of the major draws for Game of Thrones is the amount of skin it shows. Some of the most beautiful men and women in television appear in their birthday suit. And in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, well, okay, all right. Well, in Saudi Arabia, the boobs are actually illegal, so that's 1 point for Game of Thrones. But listen, it's not my job here to convince you that Saudi Arabia is better than a show filled with obscenity, gratuitous violence, and incest. No, that's a job for the Saudi morality police. But why talk about Saudi Arabia? Now, with everything going on in the world, why are we focusing on this one country? Well, my friends, less hot summer is coming.
King Salman has issued royal decrees relieving His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Nayef from his position as Crown Prince and appointing His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman as Crown Prince and Deputy Prime Minister.
A new Crown Prince? Oh my God, a new Crown Prince. This is incredible. We have so many questions, like, what's a Crown Prince? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the government structure of Saudi Arabia. It's important to know that Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. But it's not a half-ass monarchy like they have in England, where she's on the money and sometimes you repost a picture of her with her dogs. No, this is a hardcore, full-on monarchy, where you are required by law to repost a picture of the king with his tigers eating political dissidents. Now, the position of Crown Prince means that you are the designated successor to the throne. You're also given some political and administrative duties. The idea being that by the time you get to become the king, you have gained enough experience to know how to lead competently. Now, this started in 1935 when King Abdulaziz gained the throne. He appointed his eldest son to be the crown prince. And after King Abdulaziz's passing, he became king and the position went to the younger brother. And so on and so forth until we are today, to King Salman, who was at one point the crown prince and has inherited the throne. Now, the problem is King Salman, the current king, is 81 years old, and He is the last of King Abdulaziz's sons. When King Salman gained the throne in 2015, he appointed his nephew, Mohammed bin Narif, to the position of crown prince. But this week he changed his mind, and by royal decree, his son, Mohammed bin Salman, is now the crown prince. So the question is, who is Mohammed bin Salman? Or as he's better known in the streets, the notorious MBS. Well, Mohammed bin Salman has been a relative unknown 5 years ago. But this 31-year-old has quickly risen to prominence. Recently, he was appointed to Minister of Defense. He also has been dictating new energy policy for Saudi Arabia with his plan called Saudi Arabia 2030, where he plans to reduce Saudi Arabia's dependence on oil exports. Optimists hope that his youth will be a reform movement for Saudi Arabia, hopefully changing the slogan from "No, you can't" to "Yes, you can't." But it's not all peaches or whatever it is that grows in Saudi Arabia for MBS. He's been facing some harsh criticism for his experience or lack thereof. On his energy policy, his decision to take the Saudi oil company Aramco public has been seen as an incredibly risky move. Since oil is Saudi Arabia's most important asset, the field of energy has been left largely to experts. His meddling could have severe economic consequences for the country. Second, his tenure as defense minister has resulted in disaster. In Saudi Arabia's ongoing war with Yemen, there's been multiple human rights abuses, with accusations of indiscriminate bombings of civilians, as well as a military blockade which threatened to starve millions in the country. Not to mention that the war has been hugely unsuccessful. Some experts suggest that al-Qaeda's influence has only grown in the country of Yemen. Other criticisms include that he is not just incompetent, but is maybe a warmonger. Prince Mohammed has recently called out Iran, saying, "We are the primary target for the Iranian regime. We won't wait for the battle to be in Saudi Arabia. Instead, we'll work so the battle for them is in Iran." To which Iran responded,
And I didn't like him. I didn't like his attitude. He was a punk. I can break his back. Break his back, make him humble, and then his ass.
And that's not even to mention that as we speak, Saudi Arabia and Qatar are inching ever closer to conflict. One has to wonder, at this point in time, why has Mohammed bin Narif been deposed as crown prince? He's been an experienced diplomat. He's been building relations with other states in the region. He's been respected by the elite within Saudi Arabia as well as diplomats abroad. Rumors suggest that injuries he sustained from a terrorist attack in 2009 have gotten worse, hindering him from the ability to do his job properly. What happened was an enemy combatant actually put an explosive device up his asshole and carried out the attack. We have the footage here.
Allahu Akbar!
Tragic. Mohammed bin Salman is set to become the youngest king that Saudi Arabia has ever had. And on top of that, he has the potential to rule for decades because of his youth. But his lack of experience has proven dangerous and irresponsible for the people of Saudi Arabia and everyone living in the Middle East. When you're an absolute monarch, this is not a job you can learn on the fly. He's not a sandwich artist at Subway. He is in charge of over 30 million lives. Really, the problem with Saudi Arabia, though, is the problem all monarchies have. It's why does every government position have to be filled with someone related to you? Just imagine if you had your own country, right, and you had to fill the positions. Some of them would be easy, right? You had to pick the attorney general, right? Your cousin Maggie, she's an attorney. She'd make a great attorney general. And Dave, your brother, he runs a small business. Great minister of finance. But then you start getting to the lower levels, like who would be the director of health and human services? Your Uncle Larry, who lit himself on fire last Thanksgiving? Or your cousin Steve, the chronic masturbator? That's all I have for today. So I think that's all we really have about Saudi Arabia, unless there's...
Saudi Arabia, along with the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Egypt, imposed a boycott on Qatar 3 weeks ago. Riyadh presented a list of demands to Doha, including the shutting down of Al Jazeera TV channel and cutting ties with Iran.
Well, in that case, we may be revisiting Saudi Arabia a little sooner than we expected. Thank you very much. I'm JT. Enjoy the rest of your day.